My name is Alara Vance, and I am 39 years old. I pull my car, a restored 1968 Mercedes convertible, into the winding driveway of the Crestview Legacy Club. Each perfectly laid cobblestone seems to judge my arrival, rattling the chassis of a car I bought with my own money and learned to repair with my own hands. The grand Georgian-style building looms ahead, its gleaming white columns and meticulously maniciled gardens a monument to old Boston money and even older Boston traditions. My stomach tightens as I smooth down my light, gray, tailored designer jeans. I've paired them with a navy blazer and Italian leather loafers. I've dressed carefully, knowing exactly what awaits me on that sunny terrace. Still, a small, tired voice whispers that it won't be enough. It never is. I spot them before they see me, a perfect, curated portrait of New England aristocracy. My father, Arthur, ramrod straight in his summer London suit, his signet ring flashing as he gestures. My mother, Eleanor, pearls gleaming at her throat, laughing lightly at something my sister said. And my sister, Serafina, looking like she just stepped out of a country club catalog, her blonde hair perfectly blown out. Their faces are arranged in pleasant, public expressions, but I recognize the familiar, brittle tension in their postures. A doorman I don't recognize nods respectfully as I enter. "Good morning, ma'am." The click of my loafers against the black and white marble echoes through the grand foyer. Crystal chandeliers cast prism, like patterns across heavy, oak-paneled walls. My parents requested this meeting. Sunday brunch at Crestview. The text from my mother had read, "It's time for us to catch up." Their words, not mine. My father sees me first. His slight, practiced smile freezes, then deepens into a frown. His eyes, the same gray as my own, narrow as they travel from my face, down my blazer, and land, with theatrical disgust, on my jeans. My mother's lips purse, that familiar, tiny motion, as if she's just tasted something sour. Serafina merely smirks, turning back to her husband, Robert, to whisper something that makes him chuckle. She's already savoring what's coming. "Alara," my father says as I reach their terrace table. His voice is not loud, but it carries across the quiet clink of silverware and china. "Did you forget this is a respectable establishment?" I freeze mid-step. Around us, conversations pause. Silverware stills against fine china. The air is thick with sudden, focused silence. "I'm not sure what you mean, father," I say, keeping my voice level. My mother sighs, a dramatic, long-suffering sound. "Really, Alara? Look at yourself. Jeans, here. I told you we were meeting at Crestview, not at some coffee shop. They're Armani, mother. They cost more than your suit. They are denim," she snaps, her voice a low, furious hiss. "Everyone else here managed to dress appropriately. You look like you came straight from gardening, for heaven's sake," Serafina chimes in, her tone light and amused. Heads are turning. Whispers start. A woman 2 tables over, Mrs. Harrington, a woman my mother has been desperate to impress for years, touches her companion's wrist and nods in our direction. My cheeks burn a hot, shameful flush. My father, seeing he has an audience, summons a young waitress with an imperious wave of his hand. "Excuse me, young lady, could you please check with management about the VIP area? Someone at our table doesn't appear to belong and is violating the dress code." The waitress, who looks to be about 20, glances at me, then at my father. Her discomfort is obvious. I'm sorry, sir. The dress code is smart casual. I'll need to call a manager about that." "Then do so," my father commands. Immediately, my throat constricts. I'm 7 years old again, wearing the wrong, homemade dress to my cousin's birthday party. I'm 13, bringing home a B+ in algebra when Serafina has, once again, earned straight A's. I'm 22, choosing the wrong college major, computer science, not art, history, or law. I am, as I have always been, the family disappointment. Never ever enough. "If I'm embarrassing you," I manage my voice barely audible, "I can leave." My father's eyes flash with victory. He is about to nod to dismiss me, when a gentle hand catches my elbow. "Miss Vance, just a moment." I turn. It's Mrs. Gable, the club's head hostess, a woman in her late 60s who has worked here for as long as I can remember. She steps closer, speaking softly, for my ears only. "You once helped my grandson, Miss Vance," she whispers, her gray eyes holding mine. "You didn't just give him money. You got him that internship at your company. He was failing out of school. Now he's at MIT. You never mentioned it again. You just did what was right." Her words, the memory of that quiet kindness, act like a steel rod shooting up my spine. Don't you let them shame you, dear, she says. Some of us here see everything that happens. Something shifts inside me. The tectonic plates of my soul, which have been grinding against each other for 39 years, suddenly realign. My spine straightens inch by inch. The burning in my cheeks fades. Thank you, Mrs. Gable, I whisper. She nods once and steps back. I turn toward my family. Their expectant faces, so certain of my retreat, tell a story I've known my whole life. The story of Alara Vance, the black sheep, the oddball, the disappointment. The one who never, ever measured up. But maybe that's not the only story. I walk back to their table. I pull out the empty chair. I take my seat. I believe I'll stay for brunch after all, I say, reaching for the heavy linen napkin and placing it deliberately on my lap. I'm rather hungry. My mother's eyes widen. Serafina's jaw drops, and my father, for perhaps the first time in my memory, appears utterly and completely at a loss for words. I lift the heavy, embossed menu and examine it with a newfound, genuine interest. Today may have started as their ambush, but something tells me it won't end that way. It's a terrible feeling, being shamed by your own family, especially in public. Alara's story is just getting started, and this confrontation is about to take a turn her family never saw coming. If you've ever felt like the outsider, or if you believe in the power of quiet strength, please show your support by clicking that like button. And subscribe to our channel so you don't miss what happens next. You are not going to want to miss this. I watch my father's face cycle through its familiar stages, from stunned silence, to quiet disapproval, to a simmering, controlled rage. His fingers begin to drum against the white tablecloth in that familiar, impatient rhythm. It's the same beat he'd tap out when reviewing my disappointing report cards all those years ago. This is absolutely unacceptable, he says, his voice low but carrying across the terrace in the renewed quiet. Jane's. At Crestview. I have been a member of this club for 30 years, and I have never witnessed such a flagrant disregard for standards. My mother, recovering, dabs her lips with her napkin. Arthur, perhaps we should just speak with management privately. This reflects so poorly on all of us. I agree, Serafina adds, smoothing her perfect peach-colored dress. The dress code exists for a reason, Alara. It's to protect the members from this. My father stands up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly on the stone terrace. He scans the area for staff. His 6'2" frame, which he has always used to command boardrooms and living rooms, commands immediate attention. He spots a young woman in a Brookhaven. No, Crestview. Uniform and raises his hand imperiously. Excuse me, he calls. We need to speak with management. Immediately, the floor manager, a competent-looking woman in her 40s named Kate, approaches our table. Her expression reveals nothing. Good morning, Mr. Vance. How may I assist you? My father gestures toward me, a sweeping, dismissive motion, as if I were a piece of trash on his lawn. This person shouldn't be here. She is in violation of the dress code and is ruining our brunch. I want you to call the owner, immediately. Serafina smirks, crossing her arms. Someone's about to be escorted out. My throat tightens. The familiar weight of their disapproval presses down, threatening to suffocate me. For a fleeting moment I consider surrendering, just walking out and sparing myself the scene my father is so determined to create. But Mrs. Gable's words echo in my mind. Don't let them shame you. Kate's professional mask doesn't slip. Sir, the club's dress code is smart casual. Designer denim is not a violation. However, I understand you have a concern. I will get Ms. Monroe, our executive director, to address this matter. Good, my mother says, straightening her pearl necklace. Someone needs to maintain standards around here. While we wait, my father launches into his familiar territory. This is exactly the problem with your generation, Alara. No respect for institutions. No respect for tradition. I remain silent, taking a slow, measured sip of water. Your sister, he continues, understands propriety. She married appropriately. She dresses appropriately. She behaves appropriately. Jackson and I are still waiting to hear if our own membership application will be approved, Serafina adds, the implication clear. Perhaps if certain family members didn't create scenes, the process would move faster. The committee will recognize your suitability, darling, my mother pats her hand. I catalog each barb, each subtle dig. The familiar family dance. Arthur, the patriarch obsessed with appearances. Eleanor, the enabler, a social climber terrified of perception. Serafina, the golden child, who married a corporate attorney and never strayed from the approved path. And me, Elara, the family disappointment, the quiet tech girl, the one who would never amount to anything. I spot Ms. Monroe approaching our table. She moves with a practiced, elegant grace, her tailored burgundy suit conveying authority without ostentation. Behind her follows a young man I recognize, Ben, her assistant, who is carrying a leather portfolio. Mrs. Gable watches discreetly from the service station, her presence a quiet, steadying force. Good morning, Ms. Monroe addresses the table, her voice calm and measured. I'm Nora Monroe, the executive director of Crestview. I understand there's a situation. She pauses. The owner is actually on site today. My father stands taller, buttoning his linen jacket. Then get the owner. We'll see what they think about this club's failing dress code. And Ms. Monroe's expression remains neutral. I've already spoken with the owner, Mr. Vance. And, my father demands. A beat of silence follows. Ms. Monroe turns, her body angled just slightly, to look directly at me. There is something in her eyes, a flicker of profound, professional respect. Miss Vance, she says, is the legal owner of the Crestview Legacy Club. The words land like a thunderclap in the still, sunny air. Silverware clatters against china as my mother drops her fork. Serafina's mouth forms a perfect, silent O. Robert, her husband, just freezes, his hand suspended mid-air. And my father. His face goes from red to white to a mottled, unbelieving purple. I meet Ms. Monroe's gaze and give a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Thank you, Nora. Perhaps we should continue this conversation in your office. Of course, Miss Vance. This is absurd, my father finally sputters, color rising in his face. What kind of ridiculous joke is this? I stand up, straightening my blazer. It's not a joke, father. You cannot possibly own Crestview, my mother whispers, her eyes darting around wildly, checking to see who else is listening. Follow me, please, Nora says, already gesturing toward the main building. Serafina grabs my arm as I pass, her fingers digging in. What are you doing? What is this? You'll humiliate us all! No, I say quietly, removing her hand from my arm as if it were a piece of lint. That was your specialty today. Not mine. We follow Nora down the long, oak-paneled hallway, the familiar portraits of the club's founding members. All old, white Charleston. No, Boston. Money. Look down with painted disapproval at our strange procession. Nora's office is organized, tasteful, and effective. Ben, the assistant, has already arranged files on the polished conference table. Please, Nora says, gesturing to the chairs. My father remains standing, his hands clenched. I demand an explanation. Now. Ben opens the portfolio. The documentation is quite clear, sir, he says, his voice mild. The Crestview Legacy Club was acquired 9 months ago for $22.4 million. It was a distressed property, following severe financial mismanagement by the previous board. The purchaser, Nora continues, was Vance, Mitchell Holdings, LLC, with Miss Elara Vance as the sole managing partner. We are currently in the middle of $10.7 million in capital improvements, all personally funded by Miss Vance, to restore the club and its grounds. Serafina shakes her head, a violent, jerky motion. This is impossible. You work in tech. You live in a tiny apartment. How could you possibly? You just tried to have the owner of this club. I interrupt, my voice steady despite the hammering of my heart. Removed from her own property for wearing jeans. Perhaps that's worth considering before you continue. My father sinks into a chair, his face ashen. My mother stares at the documents as if they're written in a language she can't comprehend. Serafina glares at me with a mixture of pure shock and raw betrayal. For 39 years, they have defined me by their expectations. The quiet one. The disappointment. The practical. One who would never amount to anything. Now, sitting across from them, with the weight of their judgment suddenly, blessedly irrelevant, I feel something unfamiliar bloom in my chest. Freedom. My father's face reddens as he stares at the membership files spread across Nora's desk. The veins in his neck bulge against his starched, expensive collar. This must be some mistake. He slams his palm on the polished mahogany. I'll have my attorney review every single detail of this so-called acquisition. Nobody buys a place like Crestview without word getting around Boston. I remain seated, my hands folded calmly in my lap. The familiar, anxious knot in my stomach has transformed. It's not fear anymore. It's resolve, hardening like concrete. There's no mistake, father, I say. The sale was kept quiet at the previous owner's request. They were embarrassed by their mismanagement. It was a condition of the deal, one I respected. My mother leans forward, her pearl necklace swinging. Darling, you can't possibly run something like this. It's a Boston institution. The responsibility, the social obligations, the committees. All of which I've been handling, remotely, for the past 9 months without anyone noticing. I meet her gaze. Including you. Serafina, recovering, begins to circle the office, like a shark. You did this to humiliate us, she accuses. You knew we've been members for 30 years, and you bought it just to what? Prove a point? I bought a distressed, historic property as an investment, I reply, my voice cool. It was a sound business decision. The fact that it was this club is purely coincidental. My father's eyes narrow to slits. How? How did you even afford this? 22 million. His tone suggests I must have stolen it, or worse. My biotech data company, I say, the words landing in the quiet room. The one you all called my spreadsheet hobby. I sold it last year. To a firm in Germany. For 85 million. The silence in the room is absolute. My mother's hand freezes on its way to her pearls. Serafina stops pacing. My father just stares, his face completely, utterly blank. They had never asked about my work. Not once. And I had never told them. I turn to Nora Sloan, who has been standing by the door, poised and professional. Nora, what does the club rulebook say about member conduct? She steps forward, not missing a beat. Article 7, Section 2 covers conduct damaging to the club's reputation. Specifically, public behavior that creates a disturbance, harasses or embarrasses other members, or reflects poorly on Crestview's standards of decorum. And what is the procedure for such a violation? I ask. The incident must be documented, preferably with witness statements. A temporary suspension can be issued immediately by executive management, followed by a full review from the Compliance and Disciplinary Committee within 14 days. The committee then determines if the suspension should be lifted, extended, or converted to a permanent revocation of membership. Nora recites this without consulting a single document. Let's follow it. To the letter, I say. Ben, who has already been taking notes on his tablet, nods and slips out of the room. My father's laugh is sharp and brittle. This is absurd. We're founding members. My father helped build this club. You are members who have just violated club policy, I correct him. Status does not exempt you from the rules. I stand up slowly. For 39 years I have navigated the minefield of their expectations. I have watched my every step, bracing for the inevitable explosions of their disapproval. But the legal ownership of this space has shifted something fundamental inside me. Not just ownership of Crestview. Ownership of myself. For 39 years, I say, my voice low but clear, I have let you treat me as less than. Less than Serafina. Less than your expectations. Less than worthy of basic, common respect. My mother's face crumples, a practiced, familiar distress. That's not true, Elara. We only ever wanted what was best for you. Today, I cut her off, something I have never done before. You tried to have me physically removed from my own property. Not because I violated any real rule, but because I didn't meet your personal, arbitrary standard of appearance. My father rises, towering over the desk. You watch your tone, young lady. I will not be spoken to like. That ends today, I continue, as if he hadn't spoken. Your membership privileges and mother's and Serafina's are suspended, effective immediately. His face flushes a deep, dangerous crimson. You can't. I can, and I am. I press the intercom button on Nora's desk. Nora, could you come in, please? She enters promptly, followed by Ben, who is carrying a folder. Mrs. Gable, the hostess, waits in the doorway, her gray eyes steady. Mrs. Gable, I ask, would you be willing to provide a statement about what you witnessed on the terrace this morning? She steps forward, her back straight. I'd be happy to, Miss Vance. Her voice is firm. I observed Mr. and Mrs. Vance publicly, and loudly humiliating their daughter, Miss Vance, and attempting to have her removed from the premises. Mrs. Renner, she nods at Serafina, participated as well. The doors open again. 2 uniformed security officers enter. They stand at attention, waiting. File the formal incident report, I instruct Nora. Issue a 60-day interim suspension for all 3 parties, Arthur Vance, Eleanor Vance, and Serafina Renner. Pending a full committee review. Nora nods. I will forward the complete file, including the CCTV footage from the terrace, to the compliance committee within 24 hours. This is outrageous, my father sputters. I've been a member here since before you were born, which means you've had ample time to learn the rules, I say. I gesture to the security officers. These gentlemen will escort you to collect your belongings from the locker rooms, and then to your vehicles. My mother's tears are flowing freely now, real tears of shock and rage. You can't do this. You can't do this to your own family. I'm not doing anything to you. I correct her, my voice calm. I am enforcing the rules you broke. The same rules you've expected everyone else to follow all these years. Ben hands each of them a formal, typed notice detailing their suspension. Serafina crumples hers into a ball. You are making a terrible, terrible mistake, she hisses. No, I shake my head. For the first time in my life, I'm not. The security officers step forward, polite but firm. I feel come with us, please. But my father looks as if he might refuse, but after a long, choked moment, he buttons his jacket with trembling fingers. As they reach the door, I speak one last time. No one, I say, my voice ringing in the quiet office, deserves to be disrespected just because they aren't wearing what someone else approves of. That applies to everyone who enters Crestview. Member, guest, or staff. After they're gone, I sink back into the chair. The office falls silent except for the ticking of an antique clock. Through the window, I watch them cross the parking lot. My mother, leaning heavily on my father's arm. Serafina, stomping ahead. 39 years of criticism, dismissal, and conditional love, all embodied in those three figures growing smaller in the distance. Mrs. Gable returns, quietly, with a cup of coffee and places it on the desk before me. Well done, Miss Vance, she says. I wrap my hands around the warm porcelain. Thank you, Mrs. Gable. Not just for the statement. For my grandson's scholarship, she finishes, her eyes kind. You never mentioned it. You never asked for anything in return. I shrug. It was the right thing to do. She nods, understanding what I don't say. Some acts of kindness don't need an audience. My family never understood that. The revelation hits me like a physical force. I've spent my entire life seeking their approval, chasing a validation they were fundamentally incapable of giving. The biotech company, the $85 million, buying this club. None of it stemmed from pure ambition. It stemmed from a desperate, childish need to finally prove myself worthy of a love that should have been unconditional. But I never needed it. Not their approval. Not their validation. Not their version of love, with all its sharp edges and impossible conditions. I take a sip of coffee, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. Outside, their car pulls away from Crestview, leaving 3 empty, premium parking spaces. And for the first time since arriving this morning, I breathe freely. 2 days later, my phone vibrated for the 11th time that night. I left it face down on the nightstand, the blue notification light pulsing like a tiny, angry heartbeat in my darkened bedroom. The clock read 11:42 p.m. The screen illuminated with Serafina's name. Again, I knew exactly what the text said. The same message, just repackaged with increasing desperation. You can't do this. Think about what people will say. You're ruining Dad. People. Always people. The nebulous jury of Boston society that had sentenced me to a lifetime of inadequacy. I finally reached over. A new voicemail from my mother. Her voice was pitched high with practiced distress. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Is that what you wanted, Elara? To put him in the hospital. Call me back immediately. My thumb hovered over the callback button. For a moment, that familiar, coiling knot formed in my stomach. The Pavlovian response cultivated over 3 decades. Instead, I powered off the phone completely. The screen went black. The room fell silent. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I slept without interruption. Morning sunlight streamed through my bedroom windows when Amelia, my attorney, arrived at my downtown apartment. Her charcoal suit and no-nonsense demeanor matched the stack of documents she placed on my kitchen counter. Coffee? I asked. Black, please. She accepted the mug and opened her portfolio. I've reviewed everything. Your actions were, and are, in full compliance with both the Crestview bylaws and Massachusetts state law. I exhaled, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. They have no standing to sue, she continued, sliding a document toward me. The suspension follows proper procedure to the letter. The committee will make their final determination independently. My father has had influential friends on that board, I said. Amelia's expression remained impassive. Friends don't override corporate bylaws or digital surveillance footage. My recommendation is to document every communication from them, but make no public comments whatsoever. Let them be the ones who look desperate. I nodded. This was never about public humiliation. Oh, of course not. One of her eyebrows arched slightly. It's about consequences, I clarified. Something my family has managed to avoid their entire lives. Nora, the club's director, called later that afternoon. Your father has been busy, she said, her voice crisp. He's contacted 3 board members directly. And he discovered, Nora said, with a hint of satisfaction, that I replaced 2 of them 6 months ago, and the third one, Mr. Henderson, was deeply offended that a suspended member was contacting him about an active disciplinary matter. He's providing his own statement to the committee. I pressed my hand against the cool glass of my office window. Has my mother reached out to anyone? Her usual lunch group at the club. They've all had their assistants called to indefinitely postpone. The Harrington-Wilson Charity Committee meeting was also mysteriously rescheduled. Nora didn't have to say it. My mother's social circle, which was 90% dependent on her status as Mrs. Arthur Vance of Crestview, was evaporating. And my father's attorney, he called this morning, requesting the surveillance footage from the terrace. When I informed him it had already been secured as evidence for the committee, he advised his client against any further discussion. His exact words were, "The evidence is clear, Arthur. Stop digging." I hung up and wandered through my apartment, stopping at the small balcony overlooking the historic district. The old and new coexisting. The next morning, I arrived at Crestview earlier than usual. Staff members nodded respectfully as I passed. It was not the fearful deference they used to show my father. It was genuine. Mrs. Gable, the hostess, joined me on the terrace as I had my morning coffee. "The staff lounge is buzzing," she said, refilling my water. "Good buzz or bad buzz?" "Very good, Miss Vance." She glanced around. "For 30 years your family treated the staff here like furniture. The way your father spoke to Rosa in housekeeping last month, well," she shook her head. "Now everyone knows dignity matters here. That the rules apply to everyone. Does it bother them that I suspended my own family?" Mrs. Gable straightened. "Quite the opposite, ma'am. It shows no one's above the rules. Not even the owner's family." 2 weeks passed. The Compliance and Discipline Committee, which I had purposefully stacked with new, younger members from Boston's tech and finance sectors alongside legacy members like Mr. Henderson, completed their investigation. They reviewed the witness statements, the CCTV footage, and, most damningly, a log of previous undocumented incidents involving my family that staff had never dared report. Their verdict arrived in a sealed envelope on my desk. Permanent membership revocation for Arthur and Eleanor Vance. Associate status for Serafina and Robert Renner terminated. 30-day appeal window. I signed the formal notification letters myself. My hand didn't shake. That evening, I drove home along the waterfront. Change comes slowly in Boston, they say. Traditions endure. Family names matter. But sometimes the tide shifts, washing away what once seemed permanent. The appeal window closed. No appeals were filed. A week later, the glass elevator in my office building offered a perfect view of the harbor. The knot in my stomach tightened as the doors opened. Serafina was pacing my reception area. "You're early," I said. My sister whirled around. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her caramel hair disheveled. "This couldn't wait." Her voice cracked. "You have to stop this, Alara." She followed me into my office, collapsing into a leather chair. "Mom hasn't left the house in weeks. Dad is devastated. His blood pressure is so high. The doctor." I remained standing, arms folded. "That's unfortunate." "Unfortunate," she sprang up. "The Hendersons uninvited them from their anniversary gala. Dad's golf partners suddenly have schedule conflicts. Mom's charity committee suggested she take a break. You've ruined them. Is your revenge worth destroying our family name?" "I didn't humiliate anyone, Serafina. They did that to themselves. In public. On camera. Do you even hear yourself? After everything they sacrificed for us, what did they sacrifice exactly?" I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed. "This isn't just about them," she said, switching tactics. "Uncle Mark called me. Pastor Evans wants to meet about healing the family rift. How convenient that everyone is so concerned now." "Because they care," she insisted. "You've made your point, Ilara. You've shown everyone you have the power. Isn't that enough? I looked at her, and my childhood diary flashed in my mind. Dade said my science project was adequate, even though I won first place. Mom told Grandma I was finally looking presentable at graduation. Celeste, Serafina, said my tech job was just playing with computers. Page after page of small cruelties and casual dismissals. No more, I whispered, so quietly she almost didn't hear it. What, no more? Their problems are not my responsibility. We met 3 days later at a neutral location, a private dining room at a downtown hotel. I arrived first. They entered as a united front. This has gone on long enough, my father announced. I remained seated. Hello to you too, father. After everything we've done for you, Alara, my mother began, her eyes already welling. The sacrifices. You've always been selfish, Serafina added. The accusations piled up. I let them wash over me, neither defending nor attacking. When they finally exhausted themselves, I spoke. I accept that this is how you see me, I said quietly. I'm not here to negotiate. The decision stands. But where will we go? My mother whispered. Everyone knows. You are free to join other clubs, Mother. Boston has many. You can't just cut us off, Serafina protested. Our relationship moving forward, I said, meeting each of their eyes, is entirely up to you. But it will be based on mutual respect, or it won't exist at all. I stood, smoothing my skirt. My father's face flushed. My mother's tears flowed freely. You're making a mistake, father. No, he warned. No, I said, with quiet certainty. I'm correcting one that's gone on for 39 years. I walked out without looking back, my steps light. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running from their disapproval. I was walking toward something better. 6 months have transformed Crestview. The terrace blooms as I weave between tables at our annual charity gala. The club is no longer a stuffy relic of old money. It's the new, vibrant center of Boston's tech and art scene. Miss Vance, the silent auction numbers are impressive, Nora whispers. We've doubled last year's total. Membership applications are up 18%. Staff turnover is near zero. Miss Vance, Mr. Patterson, a retired judge, lifts his glass. Best gala this club has seen in 20 years. A Mrs. Gable, now the official head of member relations, joins me by the terrace railing. The staff lounge is happy, Miss Vance. You've changed this place. People feel valued. Her words warm me. That was always the goal. We both know what remains unspoken. My parents joined the Palmetto Oaks Country Club across town. Serafina texts occasionally. Tentative messages about the weather. The wounds have scarred over. I look out over the Boston Harbor. The sunset paints the water copper and gold. Below, laughter rises from the guests. For 39 years, I chased an approval that should have been freely given. Now, I understand. Respect isn't demanded. It arrives when you choose what's right, even when that choice costs you the only family you've ever known. A young server, Sarah, refills my water, her hands trembling. Miss Vance, can I ask you something? Of course. My family, they say I'm throwing my life away by going to college. That I should stay home and help. The echo of my own past is sharp. Your life belongs to you, Sarah. I tell her. Their disappointment is their problem to solve, not yours. Her eyes widen. No one ever told me that before. Someone should have, I smile. Talk to Nora. The club has a new scholarship program. It might interest you. She leaves, and I sip my water, watching the sunset deepen. Peace settles over me like a comfortable shawl. Mrs. Gable joins me. Justice finally came back around. She observes. Justice never left, I reply. People just forgot what it looks like. The sun sinks. The lights of Boston twinkle on. I don't. Thank you for listening to my story. It took me 39 years to learn that you cannot force people to value you. Your worth is not determined by their approval. True family, true community, is built on respect. And sometimes you have to be the one to enforce the rules, even if it's on the people who taught them to you. Have you ever had to choose between your family's expectations and your own self-respect? It's a painful, difficult choice. I would be honored if you would share your own stories of strength and setting boundaries in the comments section below. And if this story resonated with you, and you believe in the power of knowing your own worth, please click that like button. Share this video, and subscribe to our channel for more stories. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss what's next.